So I know my. Whatever you want. Yeah, I know. And then of course they checked the alignment on the opposite side of the wall, which was weird, but at least I got no cover, which I really didn't plan on, yeah. That was,
Second, 2025. You want to stand for the pledge?
right there.
It's on the computer screen. I'm sorry, we're in the middle of gutting rooms right now, so it's a little flag. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Then you want to do roll call?
Mr. Borthwick?
Here.
Mr. Casey?
Here.
Mrs. Chesak? Present. Ms. Fox? Present. Mr. McAndrew?
Present.
Ms. Merkel?
Here,
Ms. Strzelecki will be here 6:15. Mrs. Yanni? Mr. Holmes? I have 6 present and 2 absent.
Okay. We're going to start off our discussion topics. 4.1, reconfiguration update. I'm going to send it over to Dr. Keating.
All right, so part of my board goals on December 27th, I had sent to the board a pretty lengthy document where after I had been here about 7 or 8 months, I kind of sat back. I had been able to get into all the buildings and look at them, look at the age of things, look at the feasibility study that was done by CHA, and kind of present a picture for what could we do moving forward. And that initial picture looked at eventually consolidating schools under a concept of new construction. Kind of like we're sitting in Isaac Tripp right now. Marshall and Lincoln Jackson fed into the creation of a new building. So that was my initial idea. However, when we went through staffing meetings over the course of the spring, I made sure I sat in on all the different levels, and including special ed, and Ann Jeanette's here tonight. We have seen a dramatic increase in our exceptional population, specifically with the autism spectrum disorder diagnosis. I had sent to the board early this week a new kind of updated addendum. And to me, one of the most staggering statistics in there is that in 2020, we had 26 full-time autistic support classes, which for a district this size is about average. On the first day of school in 2025, we will have 43 full-time autistic support classes. In addition to that, as you look at our early intervention numbers, so if you're not familiar with early intervention is the programming, locally it's done through NEIU 19, that services are essentially our birth to 5 population, and children who have any kind of exceptionalities in that age group. Traditionally, over the years, we've had maybe 60, on a high year, 85 or 90 EI transitions. We had over 140 this year. Last year, on my first day of school here as the superintendent, we had 19 students who came to us on the first day with no early intervention services, who within the first 2 to 3 weeks of school were diagnosed as needing either autistic or emotional support classrooms. And within the first 2 weeks of school last year, we opened 4 new classrooms within the first weeks of school. We've been proactive this year. We have 2 classrooms kind of tentatively identified if we have additional space needs this year. But we already in our staff meeting, the senior staff meeting on Tuesday, started talking about what do we do. In addition to that, by no means am I saying anything negative about the McKissick study. They were wonderful. The geographical maps in there, the information that they gave me, I used all of it. However, if you look at the McKissick study, entering this school year, we should be around 8,800 students. We should have seen, based off the birth rates, a decline in enrollment. We have held steady at 9,300 students and haven't dropped below that all year. So that's 500 additional students beyond what we were projected. At this time, I really think that we need to take a pause and we need to see, have the last 2 years been an anomaly? Are the number of early intervention transitions, the increase we're seeing in the exceptionality of full-time classrooms, is it an anomaly or is it a trend? If it's a trend, then we need to begin making plans in a direction to support those needs. If it's an anomaly, then we need to take a step back and we need to go, okay, now we have a better picture to be able to take steps forward. And Ann, before everyone came in here, you and I are talking. In addition to the younger students, we're also seeing more of our students take advantage of staying with us till 21 and 22 years of age, which in the past wasn't always the case. So we're seeing an increase in our identified population, and we're seeing that identified population stay with us longer through transition services, which they are allowed to stay with us till 21, and in cases with the COVID waiver, 22. I will work on anything you give me to work on, but for me, sitting here for the last year, to tell you based off the data that I've been given and what I've experienced this year, that there is a definitive pathway forward, I think we need to wait and see where our trend data is going. And then as we're watching our trend data, we need to explore our options in the city, how to meet the needs of this population of students. 26 to 43 is almost doubling our population. And concurrent to that, which is a wonderful thing, our partnership with ACE of NEPA and the expansion of pre-K is also going to require additional space. You also have to remember that both exceptional children, our identified population, and our pre-K students come with specific square footage requirements. So special education students, you must have 28 square foot per child in the space that you provide them, the classroom space, and pre-K is actually 35 feet per child, square feet. So I just, at this point, you know, a lot of times specific directors will say, what's your recommendation? My recommendation right now is we have to see, again, is this an anomaly or is this a trend? An anomaly can be dealt with. We know you get bubble classes. Over the course of my career, I've always had a bubble class. Oh, that 10th grade class, there's almost 500 kids in that. Then the 9th grade class is smaller. I have to see what these numbers that we're seeing right now in the data that I've collected, as we're progressing through the opening of this school year, are we seeing that same trend with having to open more classes? Now, Maggie Lotney did extensive outreach this year to try to combat what we saw last year, especially with the EI transitions. Was that just a bad opening last year? And is that something we could go, okay, we've dealt with that, or are we gonna see that happen again? In addition to that, as we're looking at our EI numbers, as we get into the beginning of this year, and we're looking at, okay, projection on that October 1st snap for the PIMS data, what are our EI transitions looking like? Are we still up over 125, 130? Or are we seeing that reside? That's gonna be able to give us a better pathway forward. And I think without taking a pause and without seeing where that data goes, making any kind of decisions or judgments right now aren't solid. And that's my recommendation right now. We gotta hold for a couple seconds, because what we saw over that last year was significant. And you know, normally I wouldn't ask the special ed director to be at an operations meeting, but I asked Anna if she could come for this beginning because of what we're seeing in that area. So I open it up to questions.
Aaron, and I hope I'm not jumping the gun or anything, but and it all sort of falls into place about what I'm about to say. Yesterday we had, I believe, an email on our title funding.
Correct.
That's been frozen.
Correct. Title II and Title III.
And we have no idea. Are we getting it? Are we not getting it? Am
Correct.
I correct?
Correct.
I've heard a lot of comments about we want to start a cyber school, this school. Meantime, we have an ad building that I think George Washington went
Well, it actually was George Washington #1, Director Casey.
to. Well,
Fun fact.
Some people might think he might have been a classmate of mine. But I'm looking at that, and I'm trying to look at the whole picture, and we still don't know where the two hospitals are going. And I'm bringing that also into this because they're also very much dependent upon Medicaid funding. Now, I haven't seen the final vote today, but I have a feeling that Medicaid is going to be crucified. I also feel that we don't know where, I mean, we weren't even talking about, at least I wasn't anyway, about the Title II and Title III funding being frozen. And I know I said this at other meetings that, and I sort of got busted a little bit about it, but we're having an iceberg come at us, and after the last couple of days, I think that iceberg is picking up speed, because even if the hospitals do stay open, but now they're going from a profit to a non-profit, that would mean, according to Mr. Laffey, we would lose approximately $1.8 million. If they close, it's $1.8 million plus the taxes that we'd receive from the employees. And that's going to hit us harder than anybody. I know that I've been a proponent, and a strong proponent, of the West Side having their own gym. I still am, but at this point, with everything that's coming down locally and nationally, I think what you're saying right now is we just need to sit back, all the cards are in the air, and we don't know where any of that's going to land. Now, granted, we are getting money that Senator Flynn and Governor Shapiro has helped us with. But I also made the comment many times that in 2019, we're putting Band-Aids on everything. And now it's 2025, and for the last 5 years we've been graced with a lot of outside money. I think it's time that we started thinking that we're back in 2019 again. I know I said it before, but I think we need to put a pause on all expansion wherever it's possible. I'm afraid that in 2 years, 3 years, that iceberg is going to hit us, and we're not going to know what to do. I'd rather take the conservative approach than full speed ahead. It breaks my heart to sit here and say, put the West Side High School gym on hold because they need it. We have a bad situation. But everything that's going on in Washington, everything that's going on here locally with some of our big revenue tax income, I don't think we could afford to be expanding anymore. Matter of fact, if anything, I would like to ask the board to direct you and Mr. Laffey to impose an immediate purchasing freeze as of September 1st. It gives us 4 months to try to figure out where we are. We don't know what else is going to be cut by Donald Trump. I know I've asked time and time again that we have a meeting with our newly elected congressman, but I think I might have fell on deaf ears, and maybe I went about it the wrong way because I now see that it's affecting everybody. I'd like you, Aaron, and if you could assist Marie, because you're our IU representative. There's 20 districts in the IU. Some are Democrat, some are Republican. I'd like to challenge our congressman who's comes up next year, to come and meet with all 20 school districts from the IU to find out exactly what we're up against. I believe he was a businessman. He never was in education. Maybe we should educate him. And I'm going to stop now.
Can you speak closer into your mic? It's not picking us up. I'm sorry, Bob.
I'm going to stop now. But I have seen these things happen before, seeing that I'm probably one of the longest serving members in 4 decades. Everything could be fine, and then all of a sudden you get hit with that iceberg. And I see that iceberg coming down, and right now I don't see our congressman really giving a damn about the Scranton School District, never mind Scranton. And I'd like for the meeting to be with all board members and all superintendents that belong to the IU. It's not a town hall meeting, but he needs to understand what we're up against. And at that time, I'll shut my mouth because I don't want to be too long-winded, but these are my major concerns. And as I said, we need to put a pause, and I'm the one who brought up about the West Side gymnasium. And because of the fiscal situation in our country and in our city, I ask that we put that on pause till we actually know where we're going.
Aaron, on the issue with Congressman Bresnahan, have you, I believe you've attempted to meet with him. Have we done anything more recently?
I met with him in D.C. I haven't had any contact with him since then.
You'll have to forgive me. I know you talked about it briefly publicly. Productive?
It wasn't adversarial, but it was also at a different time before a lot of these things were passed at that point, and it was more a meeting where we expressed our concerns about the need for federal funding. I was with other local districts down there at that time, people from other local districts, and how we need title and what we do with all that funding and the amount of positions in the Scranton School District that are touched by the different elements of federal funding. So it was more of a fact exchange at that point.
So maybe now's the time to say, okay, you've got the facts. Now you need to see the implications, because this freeze on title funding, I understand that that's an executive branch priority, but we need our congressman fighting for us, and letting Congressman Bresnahan know that we're going to be in fiscal arrears and that kids are going to be shortchanged. I think that's a serious thing that he needs to hear from everybody who's a stakeholder. And what better than the IU and the superintendents to say, hey, you need to be fighting for us.
So I just so the public understands, about 2.5 weeks ago, the state of Pennsylvania, maybe 3, actually gave us our allocations for federal funding. So there's 4 major titles that we receive money through: Title 1, 2, 3, and 4. Title 1 is our reading and math programs for economically disadvantaged students, and this is a very 50,000-foot perspective. Title 2 is class size reduction and professional development. Title 3 is migrant and EL services, and Title 4 can be used for student support services and technology. Our federal programs coordinator, Maggie Murphy, had actually completed the application. We had met on it Monday morning. Tuesday morning in our staff meeting, the information was basically went public that the federal government, the day the applications were due, froze all money for Title II and Title III. So the Department of Education, and I literally, before I came over here, was sitting in my office and forwarded to the board an email from the Department of Ed that basically said, we're working on allowing you to submit Title I and Title IV, but we have no idea where 2 or 3 are going at this time. Just so people understand where that concern is right now. So that's where the Title II and 3 conversations are coming from right now, and the programs and the educational professional development that those programs support in the district would have a dramatic increase on training for our staff, on opportunities for enriching instruction and education, and then for the services to our English learners. and class size reduction teachers. Pat just whispered in my ear, sorry.
Aaron, you couldn't have said it better than I. But what I've learned from being on this board for 4 decades, all this will hit, and it might not hit until next year. And the people whose kids are going to our school and the taxpayers, they're not going to be thinking that it's Donald Trump's tax cuts that making us raise taxes. It's going to be the 9 members who sit on this board that are going to get blamed for it. They're kind of cute down in Washington with the Medicaid. From what I understand, they wrote it into the bill that no Medicaid cuts will actually happen until after their election. So they're playing politics. In the meantime, it's the Ronald Reagan theory of trickle down. Well, guess who's on the bottom? It's going to be us, and it's going to be our fault that we have to raise taxes. And that's why I'm saying, for the time being, we start being prudent where we want to put schools, where we want to put classes, and I think that we need to do an emergency freeze on all non-emergency items.
And Dr. Keating, the classes that we need, that's a must, right? Like, that's a definite. We have to meet the education needs.
Yes, that's law. The IDEA, the Individuals with Disability Education Act, cover the laws that protect students who are identified. In Pennsylvania, that falls under the Chapter 14 regulations. And those Chapter 14 regulations are what say how many square feet we should need, how large a class roster can be, so on and so forth. Those are the regulations by which we abide.
Okay. I do have a question. Director Fox asked me to ask you, because she's not sure if she could be heard on the Zoom. So let me find it. Can you address the number of students in seats when talking about room in the McKisson study? Like, out of how many students, of the 9,300 students, how many are cyber, and what was that number compared to what McKisson?
We ended the year with over 1,000 cyber students. I don't have the specific number right off the top of my head. Our cyber program right now, I actually think it ended as the 2nd largest program in the school district. It might have out-edged one of the high schools, but it has hung into the top 3. We usually start between 600 and 700 students in the program, and we escalate to over 1,000. And I believe that in the initial, sitting through the presentation with McKissick, the initial study considered that significantly in being able to reduce space within buildings. However, I don't think anyone foresaw the dramatic increase in self-contained special education classes that were going to happen concurrently. And that's no fault to anyone, which is why I said, I believe we need to see, is this an anomaly or is this a trend?
So, Dr. Keating, in regards to the reconfiguration plan, I'm thrilled that our enrollment is remaining steady. As everyone knows, I'm strongly opposed to school consolidation. So with this, from my time on the board, we were always told that we had no choice. Like, a vote would come to the board and we could vote it up, we could vote it down. If we voted it down because of the recovery plan, it would go to the state. So how does this, I'm in full agreement with your recommendation, by the way, but how would this fit into that recovery plan, like in the monitoring phase?
Dr. Saylor has been an active part of every conversation I've had in consultation with space needs or with increasing needs. I don't want to speak for her or quote her, but she understands where my space concerns are. Before the amended plan was sent to you, she reviewed that, and the information in there she was in agreement with. So my recommendation to hold to see where we are right now and to keep status quo, she's very well aware of what my recommendation is.
Okay, great, wonderful, thank you.
Any other questions?
I will continue at any time to update the data. October 1st of every year is what's called the enrollment or demographic snapshot for PIMS, which is probably one of the most important PIMS polls that happens. That's where our data is sent to the state. Everybody's required to send one. That will give me a good feel for where we are with, as Director Fox asked, bodies in seats at the beginning of the school year to see, you know, we ended at 9403. Are we holding at 9403, or over the summer did we lose students or did we gain students? That October 1st PIMS pool will give me significant information. In addition to that, after we're able to open doors, working with Ann Jeanette and the special education department, we will be able to tell you, did we lose students through attrition and are our numbers actually in a better place? Or did we see another increase after the first 2 weeks of school where we've had to open additional classes? That's the information that I need to have right now to sit up here with authority and give you a recommendation. If not, I'm guessing based off 1 year of data, and I just don't think that that is credible or that is a positive thing for me to do that with the information that I've presented to you thus far.
Okay, anybody else? Going once, going twice? Okay. So we're gonna move on to discussion item 4.2, West Scranton High School Gymnasium Feasibility Study Presentation. I talked to Mr. Laffey. We're gonna ask who's not presenting at the time to step out in the hallway.
This is for, I just want to make sure everyone understands, this is the study that would give us design and cost options. So we would be able to make informed decisions, okay? And I will take CHA out right now.
So our first presenters will be from Studio KLP Architects. And do you guys need any assistance with setting up? Oh, perfect. Okay.
All right.
Sean, how many are presenting? How many are presenting? Just
Only have
two presenters.
Yeah, we don't have copies of the presentation for it.
I believe Mr. Byron may have brought copies. Did you bring any hard copies, or yeah, you did? Yeah.
Jenny. Jenny. I'm getting I can't with you. Sure, of course. Yeah, Platinum Square. Yeah, you let me know. I go on vacation, I think the second week of August, so I could do before that or after. Where are you going? Good for you, like your tour of the coast. You're living the dream. That's what retirement's for.
One more wedding has to be done with that. In September. You can have to leave.
Yes, just so that the public can hear you.
Whatever you guys want.
Okay. Thanks for having us here this evening. Glad to be here. My name is Paul Lewis. I'm a principal at Studio KLP Architects. We're here to talk about the West Scranton High School Gymnasium Feasibility Study. I'm going to be introducing some of the team as well as discussing some of the relevant projects that apply to this project, and a quick overview of who we are. Quick firm background. Studio KLP is a merger between Williams, Kinsman, Lewis Architecture and the Palumbo Group. We have a 15-year and probably a little longer relationship working together. Williams, Kinsman, Lewis acquired several projects in the Scranton area and Lackawanna County, and we felt like it was a good fit to merge, so here we are as Studio KLP. We've got 17 plus employees at the moment. We work in Lackawanna County, Luzerne County, Philadelphia. Recently we've completed a project in West Virginia. I'm going to introduce a few of the teammates that are here this evening. We've got Steve Bauer. Stephen Bauer's at our Wilkes-Barre office. Steve's got a 20-plus year tenure with us. Senior level project manager, outstanding production and coordination person. We've got Bill Byron from our Scranton office. Similar level of years with us. Again, very qualified, capable. These two know how to get projects done on time and done in the right way. We brought along Steve Dayut from GPI. They will be our engineering leg if we're successful at acquiring the project. Steve will assign his teammates, and we've got what you have in your hands is the breakdown of all the information that's in the presentation, maybe a few other things in there as well. But what I'm going to do is we're going to try to kind of speed through this process so that we have ample time to talk about the feasibility study itself. So we're going to jump right into some of our relevant projects. We're going to start with the Wilkes-Barre Area School District's new high school. Within that 400,000 square foot building, we have a 2,000 seat gymnasium with a lot of other things wrapped around it. As you can imagine, 400,000 square feet is quite sizable. And that was completed in 2021 at a cost of $80 million. Project number 2, actually, I apologize, I'm used to seeing the slide come up a little differently. There's a photograph of the gymnasium, quarter-mile track around the perimeter of the gymnasium, all the auxiliary spaces that you'd expect to see in a 400,000 square foot building. Next project is the Scranton High School. It was completed in 2001, roughly a 300,000 square foot building, similar sized gymnasium. In that project, both very nice gymnasiums. Also, we are showing playing fields. That was also part of a separate contract with the school district. Next project is a little bit smaller, probably more appropriately scaled to the project we're talking about, your project. This is a recreational facility in the Back Mountain Harvest Assembly. It's about a 19,000 square foot building. PIAA regulation basketball court, all the amenities, weight room, some community spaces for parties, etc. But that's a little bit closer to the scale of your project. 500-person bleachers. There's a look at that. Next project is a project we completed in 2023, 18,000 square foot at the Berwick YMCA. Again, large PIAA regulation basketball court, as well as a renovated gymnasium into a wellness center. There's a couple of snapshots. Pretty zooty, we've got, we're fortunate you get a branding that you can play around a little bit with the colors. There's the gymnasium. Again, had a little bit of fun with the colors. Next project is not a gymnasium, however, it's a local project, and we just want to let everybody know that This is a very well-received building at Johnson College. In case you're passing, at least you know who did this project. Another snapshot from the inside of that building. Another project, the unbuilt project, won an AIA award a couple years back, a little bit larger building. We're hopeful someday that they get the funding for this project. Again, basketball courts, soccer fields inside, a lot of common space. Potentially, there were plans to provide some rentable space within the building. Locker rooms, restrooms, the typical that you'd see in a fitness center. There's a few snapshots of that. The last image I'm showing you is our current project at the Hanover Area Elementary School. This is a gymnasium addition as well as 144,000 square feet of renovated space. My partner, Kira Kinsman, is working on that with Steve and Bill Byron. At this point, I'm going to turn this over to Bill, and Bill's going to begin to talk a little bit more about the feasibility study.
Sure. Let's see what we have here. So this is still Hanover area, working with Nathan Barrett, used to be with the division. There's a rendering. That leg on the right of it is the addition of pre-K and the gymnasium. So pretty relative to what we're talking about here. Now, just wanted to remind you that we had done a feasibility study for the gym addition at West Scranton High School back in 2013. So we're just going to give you some highlights of that. Scroll back forward.
They have a little computer problem. Oh, it's the Mac or
The one forward slides. What did you do there, Ralph? Just.
Sorry, your mouse.
Oh,
Jiggle your mouse. Click.
Okay.
And then right left arrow.
You don't like me, don't talk to me.
I love you. Sorry about that. So, just a couple of highlights from that study. This is the existing condition, right? Showing your existing parking lot, the tennis courts, the softball field, in the back of the high school. And here's what, we actually gave you 3 options. So, and there was a variety of iterations, but back then we priced out 3 options. They ranged in price from 4.8 million to I think 6.2 about, and those are 2013 dollars. This is showing you the 1,200 seat gymnasium, or 1,200 seat gymnasium. We also had an 800 and 1,000 seat layout. And then some other amenities, like the enhanced team room, a fitness and weight room, renovating the lockers, new toilet rooms, new lobbies to enter the new gym. That's what encompassed the study. And I'm sorry, jump ahead. And at the pre-proposal meeting back in April, there was some mention that this site might be an alternative location for the gym. So we just started looking at where we could place that. That block of the building there is actually the gym that could be located on this site. And we went ahead and did some conceptual renderings of that, what that might look like. So, you want to jump in here, or you want to keep going?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Sorry about that.
As Bill was saying, we took some liberties and looked at the size of the square footage of the proposed gymnasium, and just as a starting point to begin to possibly get some traction and get some feedback from the group, we decided we would develop some renderings. And now this is the location on the back of the West Scranton High School, but that represents that block that was shaded in that you saw. This could be a potential candidate using the branding that West Scranton utilizes.
If I could just jump in. Well, I meant to mention that, of course, you're sacrificing your tennis courts and your softball field. Back in 2013, we were talking about maybe relocating the tennis courts to either Lincoln Jackson. That's not a choice now, but also maybe putting the tennis courts here on this site. But again, you do. If we did it at West Scranton, I'm sorry. If we did put the addition on West Scranton, there's quite a bit more parking that you would have to accommodate.
Right, we might want to go back just real quick, if we could, to that. So that shaded, that purple shaded area is us looking from the bottom of this, from the ground up on those renderings. So now when we go forward, that's looking from the parking lot where the tennis courts are. A couple different alternatives. Very subjective, but at this point we wanted to show some of the massing so you get an understanding of how big that building would look adjacent to the others. The quality of the renderings right now are getting kind of washed out here, unfortunately. At a smaller scale, a little bit darker room, this would make a lot more sense. But those are, I think, a little bit clearer in the pamphlets. And then we have, as Bill was saying, that we have a potential location, just one of probably many potential locations on the Isaac Tripp site where that freestanding building could potentially go. So there it sits up in the upper portion of the screen, and that's what it might possibly look like. It's a little bit more helpful when it's a day shot, but might that have a bit of glass? Yeah. Could that be an opaque cowl wall to introduce light without it being glass? Yes. There's sort of an entry volume where a lobby would be, restrooms, etc., and then the gymnasium would be sitting in the background. And that's the presentation, guys.
Okay.
Do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I think just want to remind you that we've done quite a few projects in the district with GPI. Pretty successful projects, I believe.
Yep. Okay.
And we've got a long-standing relationship with them as well. We've got 3 projects. I don't know if I did mention that. We've got several projects we're working with Steve and his team. So I think we've got a team that has worked well together. We understand how these projects need to be.
So, I mean, I'll speak first. I mean, this has been something that's been discussed, I think, for 10 years now. But I see it as more than just sports. I think that there might be potential to maybe put some classrooms in something especially if we build up here, correct? I mean, we're looking for room for cyber possibly. We need, why not that? They're already here. There's parking here. We want to bring kids sometimes into, with our cyber teachers and interact and stuff like that. What better way to have a gym right outside a classroom? I think there's multiple ways we can use this for education and obviously for the basketball and sports, but also for the community. Like when I go to the Wizards game at Scranton High when the boosters do that fundraiser, it's unbelievable how many people come, the kids come. But you can't do that on this side of town because we don't have a gym or anything like that. I think we have to think it's not just sports. We could use it for education purposes, but also community purposes to give these kids some things to do. I mean, there's no pools around here either. On this side of town, there's only splash pads and stuff. So I think we need to look outside the box and use it for like a multi-purpose room.
Well, I think that's one of the things that we'll probably begin to do with this is analyze this. It's really going back and building on the study that was done. So 10 years is a long time. New people, new needs. So I think that's probably the approach. So
Yeah.
I think it's a good starting point. I think considering Isaac Tripp as a site, and then I think really considering what are those other amenities that the community needs.
I think too is from the studies we're looking at, the numbers, West High School's not going anywhere, right? We're going to have 2 high schools for a while. If it does one day, at least it'll be on another. This could be used for the district, just because it's not landlocked there. But our two high schools should be our crown jewels. It's everybody's last stop. And right now, I mean, they're not as equal as they should be, but I definitely think we need to start focusing more on that, and again, not just use it. I know everybody's going to say the main sport it is for basketball and sports, but I think there's so many avenues we can use this for other stuff. So I really appreciate your presentation.
So I do have a question. First, I wanted to say that this is a beautiful design, very impressive, and I think it's very much needed. I guess my question would be for Dr. Keating, and I do understand this is just a design, but if we were to go with the plan with building the gym here at Isaac Tripp, what does that mean for the West Scranton High School students? Like, would they still have gym class at their building? Would they need to be transported
No,
here?
you
And
would
what that would look
still
like?
have gym classes at your building.
So this would just be for events?
Yeah, this would
Okay.
become a facility where games, practices, things like that would be held after school.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, if it's in close proximity to Tripp, I would say that Tripp's population can use it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's whoever's the during the day population that it would be close to.
Okay.
But we've been operating health and PE classes at West Scranton High School for a real long time.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about the West Gym right now is for varsity boys games, it's not big enough to. Once we got rid, we had to update the bleachers because it was a safety issue. But now that took away seating, and I mean, I went when they tried to have a game there. It's just too many people for JV and varsity not having it. Our girls still use it for home games, but our boys don't. But I think that's the biggest problem over at West currently with the gym we have.
Yeah, and I want to second what everybody's been saying. You know, beautiful design. It's actually kind of more exciting to see it rather than think about it. So kudos on that front. But yeah, the ability to take what we have or the designs and the potential and integrate more and address needs that we just heard there are needs arising. If we're able to tweak design, which obviously, you know, we're early in the process, we don't know what's going to happen. But if we're able to tweak this to make it suit our needs even more so, I mean, it's just a win-win all around. So I appreciate
Yeah, and just to say it, there isn't even a floor plan to this, so this is, I mean, the beauty of the,
Very
you know,
rough.
current technology is we can generate these things pretty rapidly. And yeah, once we begin to talk about programming, that changes everything. So if the program enlarges or changes, the building gets manipulated, this is really just us dreaming out loud for you, you know, your group to just be able to have something to grab onto. Without it, again, as you said, sir, we're just talking, they're words. But now at least we have something. You may not like it, you may love it, but in either way, either case, you can at least you have something to talk about. It's a starting point.
I agree with what Director Casey said earlier too, with the unforeseen circumstances. We don't know what's going to happen with the cuts and stuff like that. We do have to be very cautious and make sure we're spending our dollars wisely. But my question is, and I should have asked this earlier, we lost our grant writer that we shared with the city. I'm correct, right?
Yes.
Are we looking at getting one full-time? Are we looking at working with the city again, another part-time? I mean, I feel like he's been gone, the grant writer's been gone for months, and there's not been any word on it on either side.
So
Like, there might be grants out here that if we do educational pieces or whatever that might be able to help with this, that we're going to miss out on.
There were multiple positions in the 25 budget, both staff, like administrative positions, teaching positions. There's an open position in Pat's business office, the grant writer. There's a lot of positions, but kind of like I said, we were taking a pause. We need to take a pause. We were trying to figure out where the state budget was going, and at that point in the spring, Director McAndrew, the ESSER's money was frozen. We weren't really sure what we were getting in federal funding. Then we got hopeful because they awarded us federal funding and then took half of it away the day it was due. So it's kind of been a roller coaster, which is why we haven't moved on filling any of those positions.
Okay. I mean, I think the grant writer is definitely a need, so sooner the better we go after that and they pay for themselves and then some. Anybody else have any questions?
John, and I'm the one who brought up about the gym.
Yeah.
And I firmly believe that Westside High School's gym is unsafe at any speed.
Well,
I told you people.
I don't, okay. Even with the new bleachers, you're saying? I think
I'm talking about, yeah, I mean, anything to do in that gym. I had a bad experience. My daughter got hurt there playing a high school game, and she had to have surgery. And it haunted her the rest of her playing career.
Right.
To me, the gym should be condemned.
Well, I think since then, though, we have made upgrades with the floor and the bleachers. Am I correct, Mr. Laffey?
That's correct, yes.
So do you have any safety concerns with it?
Not at this time for the purposes that it's being used for.
I'm just telling you how
I
I
understand.
feel from an
Completely
experience.
understand.
And that's why I brought this up originally.
Anybody else have anything?
No, thank you, gentlemen.
No, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Sorry, I missed it.
Very good.
Guys, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you.
Right at the end there. That's a nice presentation.
For winning while I was
I know. It doesn't stop.
Yeah, I got you.
Does anybody need to take a restroom break while this is?
Check on my shoes.
Go enjoy your shoes.
Hello, Madam President.
Hi, Bob.
I had to get rid of my shoes.
Take a look at his feet.
Oh my. Why, Bob? Why?
If unique is what you see.
Glad I'm over here. Glad I'm over here.
She's glad she's over
Oh, I bet you did bring my shoes.
there. Don't do that. No,
No.
don't do that.
No, thank
Save us
you.
all.
Meetings have been so boring without Bob.
Honest to God.
He's always saying something or doing something.
He's stuck. I don't know. He's closed them off or something outside. I don't know. He's doing. So he went out. I guess he closed them down. But he's not wearing shoes. That's all right. Nothing changes. Hey, at least there's entertainment. Makes the meetings go by. Should we just see that? They just did this. I just said that. I was going to tell you like that. Those are beautiful.
Look great. That's it. We can use it for so much.
God knows we need it. What are they doing? Walmart construction? Firing our way. I love this stuff. Yeah, send some stuff. I didn't even save money on before.
I think once everybody returns, it's on this screen. Yeah, ignore this one. Okay. Yeah, ignore this screen here. So how? All you're gonna do is hit the right arrow. There you go. So right great one. Oh, I agree. Okay. Thanks. Thank you. Do me a favor and talk into the mic.
Right here?
Yeah, like that, because it was difficult.
Okay.
I don't think you're quiet.
Nope, I'll be up. Yep, I'll wait.
You know those.
How you doing?
Kindergarten.
Well, I wish I had a good story.
Just normal.
First day school. No, I slipped really fast. That's exciting. So one building's down.
Oh, rotator cuff. Oh, that's not fun. So I just had surgery. Oh, God. Get well.
I want a big one.
Okay.
Did you steal Bob's shoes? Mrs. Presumably, Tom, give me your sneakers.
I did. I'm a terrible person.
Oh, it's on.
It's up there. You're controlling that screen. Don't worry about this one. It's that one.
Gotcha.
All right. Want to go to two guys or?
Yeah, you guys, everybody ready? We all waiting for Bob, but I think we can start.
Yeah, we can start.
Start.
Ready to go? You're good.
Absolutely. You guys ready? Thank you. Good evening, directors. Thank you for having us here. My name is Arif Fazil. I think you guys know that. I'm a licensed professional engineer, and I've been doing facilities planning for over 30 years. And you know, we've done a lot of projects for you. We're very honored to be back here, and we don't take it lightly to come back and you know, compete for your selection. So thank you for that opportunity. Thank you. I have one hand, so I mentioned myself. I'm here with two senior planners from our office. I have Sean McNamara, who runs our Scranton office. He's a licensed architect and does project planning. I also have with me Jim Hanna, who is involved. He's a certified professional estimator. And those two things, I think, are very, very key in delivering this feasibility study, so you can rely on the information from a budget and a schedule and execution standpoint. That's what we do really well, is properly plan the work so then you can work the plan. And so you'll hear from Jim in a minute when we talk about the budget, but I have Sean and Jim with me, and we have a whole team ready to execute on your behalf. We've done this for you before. Some of them are familiar with you. I know we've worked with your administration and your team on multiple projects. So just really quick, we've been in business since 1976. As you well know, we are now part of CHA, which adds an additional 2,000 people to our already over 100 staff that we have locally. So we're very, you know, complete with all of the services being in-house. Since 2021, we've done over $800 million in successful public school projects. This is what we specialize in, and we're honored to have done a lot of work for you guys as well, and you happen to be on that list. Our commitment to Scranton has been extensive. This is your school district, and the yellow dots are all of your projects. And one of the things that I think makes us exceptionally qualified to do your project is we understand the infrastructure and the buildings at your school probably better than anyone else right now does, in terms of having been in every facility and established the capital plan and helped you with a lot of projects. This is just a couple of slides that were actually provided by PFM about 9 months ago, and they really speak to why we were hired the first time and the extensive process the district went through and the selection process to actually hire us. I will share this PDF with the administration and have it sent out to you guys, so I'm not going to read through the slides in the interest of time and get right to the meat of it. But the bottom line is, I thought it would be an opportunity today to also celebrate for you guys all of the good decisions you've made and all of the successes you have. These are projects that we have successfully completed for you. It starts with Scranton High School, the STEM, Robert Morris. Memorial Stadium has become tremendous with the painting and the other turf and track work that's been done there. Northeast Middle School, a lot of HVAC and infrastructure type stuff. Willard, the roof at Willard. South Scranton Intermediate School, boilers. Scranton High School emergency projects. West Scranton Intermediate School is turning out fantastic. If you've had a chance to go there, we're towards the finishing stretches of that. You know, work with the HVAC systems at the natatorium, and the list goes on and on. Here's a couple of others, Neil Armstrong, Northeast Intermediate School, and then again the West Scranton IS project. We've also been involved in various other projects that are very, very instrumental to making sure school operates. And these are down and dirty projects, but again, it just emphasizes the level of expertise and the diligence that which we take to undertake every project. Just a couple of slides of gymnasium expertise that we have. We have a team that's ready and excited to work on your project because there's a lot of exciting opportunities. So you see on the right, Easton High School. You see up on the upper part of that slide, you see Reading, and you see a couple of other, I think the one down below is Council Rock School District. So we've done multiple gymnasiums for multiple different clients. Here's a couple of others. This is Upper Dublin High School on the left. You have Nazareth, and you have Freedom High School up on the top right. So a lot of gymnasiums.
The one was Easton, correct?
Yes, sir.
I was at that one. It was beautiful. You guys did a great job with it.
Thank you. Yep, I mean, we have so many, we didn't know which to show you, and I didn't want to also bore you, but wanted to show you that we do have expertise in executing some tremendous facilities. Athletic fields, we have someone on our team, another registered architect that's not here with me today, that specializes in athletic facilities. The bottom right is one that we just finished for Wissahickon High School, and those are 2 turf fields, and what's really unique is they have a baseball field there, and then on the baseball field is a multi-purpose field that can also be used the other way, and then to the right is a softball field. So you see that one on the bottom right. We just finished the one at Quakertown up top left. Top right is Hatboro Horsham, and on the left there is Easton also. A couple of others, we did Cottingham Stadium up at Easton. We've done Northampton Stadium on the left, Nazareth Stadium on the upper right, and on the bottom right corner is Reading School District as well. And tennis courts, of course, as well, and all of the ancillary facilities that go. So this just gives you some experience in terms of doing projects of similar kind. The other thing I wanted to emphasize is facilities profile. So this is West Scranton High School. What a beautiful high school. And I'll tell you, I'm going to show you some suggestions on how we started to think about it, but I think the civic presence and the historic presence, by the way, that building is on the historical, it requires review by the historical board. So anything we put on the outside of that is going to require review and approval by the historic board, I believe, and it should, because it is a tremendous facility when you look at the historical nature of it and the masonry work and the craftsmanship that's been done. So I think anything that we add to that, we really want to get input and feedback from you and the community before we actually put something on there and that changes the character of that building. I think that's going to be very important. But we wanted to let you know that we understand the district building itself. For example, there's no air conditioning there. There's a lot of steam systems there. The question I have is, can the electrical system support a major addition? How do we handle the water and sewer there? In the city of Scranton, there's combined storm and sanitary. There are all of these challenges that we understand and have to be factored into the planning, but more importantly, factored into the budget so that that is an upfront known variable that you make a decision on and it doesn't become an after issue that we have to deal with. So these are very important things that have to be considered. So a couple of things that we're going to use to really execute this project well for you. The first one is clearly define the owner program and criteria. We know you need a gym. We know that's going to affect the building, but the question is, what size is a gym? What are the other programs that we should address? How many spectator seating should we have? Do we want to have multiple courts on it? What are the factors that we need to consider, because that's going to affect the program. So we could show you a pretty picture, but our focus is, first, let's understand the program. That's very important, because the project won't be successful if we don't execute what you guys want to execute with that result. The next one is get the best budget and best value for you. Absolutely. And then the third one is quality. How do we execute? That's number 4, safety and phasing, and the schedule. I know this board is very, very focused on schedule. We've worked with you on many projects, and I know you really understand the importance of that. And the last one is risk and liability reduction. A lot of people that plan and execute projects forget that. When you undertake a project, you are undertaking great risk, and it's our job to help make sure we mitigate that risk and execute your project by avoiding any additional liability or issues for you. And we've done that with some very complicated projects, and our track record, I think, speaks to that. So let's get into it a little bit. West Scranton High School. So this is an aerial view, and we wanted to keep this very high end. We don't want to get into a solution without talking to you and actually understanding what this is. But here's some cool ideas to think about. Where you see number 1, that's where it's a good spot to possibly put a new gym at the high school. However, what does that do? Now we've got the boys and girls gyms that are there. We're still calling them that. So imagine if we took the girls' gym and maybe repurpose that for music programs. Perhaps the music programs need to be upgraded, and maybe that's a solution. If you look at the boys' gym, obviously we're going to need locker rooms, weight rooms, maybe a gym office. So is there a way to integrate that? Right at the corner there, you see the words new entry. Perhaps there's a new entrance there that secures this entire facility and allows it to be used for community use, manage it in the evening, but add those programs. Maybe at number 7, we want to introduce a new canopy for bus drop-off and reconfigure how the bus drop-off happens. Because what's going to happen is we're also affecting the tennis courts, and we'd be affecting the parking lot, which requires us to consider, what do we do with parking? Well, there's only one other place to go. There's a softball field there to the right of that. That's number 4, and that could become a new parking lot. And how do we reconfigure that? So there's some initial ideas, but we don't want to come up with a solution. That's why you're engaging us for a feasibility study. And remember what I said, number 1 is to understand the criteria and the scope of work. But you can see we've already got some ideas. We're ready to roll up our sleeves. But as soon as we understand the parameters, how big that gym should be, are you really interested in additional locker rooms? Do we want to address the music room? What are we doing with these other spaces? And remember I told you about infrastructure? Jim will talk to you about that. If we start touching the existing building, we've got environmental remediation to address. That's got to be put in the cost. It's got to be put in the execution. How are we going to execute that project? Those are variables that we're going to consider early on so they don't become surprises later on. So there's an idea of some different things, and you'll see how this puzzle sort of comes together. Because the next thing you could do is walking distance. We are working right there. You've got the West Scranton IS. Maybe the gym wants to go there, perhaps. But if the gym doesn't want to go there and it wants to stay at the high school, and when we understand the parameters and how you're going to make it work, maybe the athletic facility there, which is woefully in bad shape, is one that we should consider improving. And maybe that gets used by the high school. They can basically just walk over there. You can see we can fix the back there with some road infrastructure and parking to support that. A new gym there might work really well with an auditorium and engage a new lobby, a new community space. Those are ideas, and it's very close to the high school. It wouldn't take away from the intermediate school because they have a decent gym, but perhaps that becomes an event center for them too. These are all of the options and strategies, but we don't want to come up with a solution. We want to tell you that we're ready, as we have found unbelievable solutions for very complicated projects for all of your facilities. And this starts to tell you how we're thinking and that we have the expertise to think on your behalf. I didn't want to give you any renderings or solutions, more than ideas on how we think until we work with you, roll up our sleeves, and get stakeholder input. So let's keep going. Oh, by the way, all of these are going to require stormwater management, both at the high school, approval requirements, zoning and otherwise, and those are the variables we want to roll up our sleeves and give you impact on, that impact schedule, impact budget, and execution. Now, Isaac Tripp. Here we are today at Isaac Tripp. There's an opportunity, perhaps tennis courts want to get relocated there. Perhaps a softball field wants to go there. Great opportunities. Is that the solution? I don't know. We have to understand use. I think one of the things Superintendent Keating talked about earlier is the need and how we're going to talk about it from a classroom standpoint. Here we're talking about athletic facilities. Athletic facilities are for the students, and then they're for the community secondarily. How are we going to maximize the use and benefit, and how is it going to impact the existing school? So if we move this here, how does it impact what Isaac Tripp does, and how does it benefit all of the needs we're looking at? Likewise, if we move to West IS and put some of the stuff there, how does it impact West IS? How does it benefit the high school and the community? And likewise, what we do at the high school. So you can see we've got this puzzle of things that we've got to address, and they're solutions. All of them come with benefits, some compromises, and maybe some advantages for each one of them. So now, this is what you said in your project scope from your RFP. Okay? This is what you asked for. You asked for a feasibility study. You asked for architectural engineering services to give you ideas in the best placement. You made sure that we gave you a survey, and very important, you want to report with cost estimates that allows you to prioritize and make your decision that Pat can go to the bank with. And I'll tell you something, and Pat can either agree with this or he can contradict this. But one of the first things he told me when we started working with him, he said he's never seen before where somebody puts together a scope, a budget, and a schedule that he can go to the bank with from day one, and we finish, and he's right on target with it. You said that, Pat. You said that was very amazing how we were able to put that together project by
The process that
project.
we had in place when the board approved the budget was ideal for us.
Exactly. So this is what our goal is, to give you that study and that report. But this is right from your RFP. Now, I took what's in your RFP and I said, we need an integrated approach, because I know how involved all of you are. I know how involved the community and the stakeholders are. This will change how programs work at the high school and perhaps those other two schools. So we need an integrated approach for project success. And look what I have there. The first thing is we need to establish the owner criteria. And look at the orange dots, the Scranton dots, on all of the people that are involved. The board, the administration, the staff, the community, the students. We need input from all of them before we can establish what the need is. Stakeholder engagement at every level to understand how we're going to affect that. Then impact on existing facilities and implementation. Again, all of these different participants need to play a role in. Benefits of the project now and in the future. How is the phasing and approvals going to happen? Now there, I just left the administration, the approval agencies, and us. That's our job. Clear scope approved by the board. We want to make sure you approve the scope. Then you have next bullet there is clear expectations of the budget. What is the budget going to be? So you can again approve it before you start spending design money and before you start investing time. And then the schedule, clear expectations of the timelines. So essentially taking your scope and making sure you understand all of the parameters and everything that has to happen in order to make this feasibility successful and then implement the project after your approval. That gives you a roadmap. Now I'm going to talk about the budget. Sean, would you mind handing the handout out? So this is very hard to see, so we have a handout. So if you look on the budget, on the one side is some pictures of the different projects and ideas that we have, the projects that we've done. But on the other side is a budget. And my God, there's a lot of information on that budget, right? So I'm going to turn it over to Jim Hanna, who's a certified professional estimator, and he's going to guide you how this puzzle will come together and some of the various variables that have to come to play here. All right? And you go, the final answer is not on there. He's just going to walk you through the path that we're going to take.
Thank you, Arif. So, Arif talked to you about planning the work and working the plan, and one of the most important tools that you'll have in that plan is a budget. And we believe that a good, especially a conceptual budget, includes as many tasks as we can get in the scope of work. And you'll see that we have it broken down in several different concepts that Arif talked to you about. For example, what the new gym is, we broke it out by contractor, how much electric it'd be, cutting and patching, system upgrades, utility relocation, and then some of these other costs include the environmental remediation. So all these factors come in there for each concept. They're broken down. We get it to a number that you can pretty much rely on. And we use current costs that we have compiled from all the projects Arif showed you. So what we're doing is giving you breakdowns and current costs of what it should be, that you can make an informed decision. And then we also include soft costs. Of course, you're going to have permit fees and all those other fees that come with it. We include those. And then at the end, you can see we have an inflation cost. So we are anticipating that there may be some inflation. So when you get there, you're not caught short. You're going to be, when you make the decision to go ahead, you have something to hedge against inflation. I don't know, Arif, did I capture it all?
Yeah, the only other thing I'll add is broken down. So for example, if you want to do the conversions to the boys and girls gym, there's numbers there. Those ones include stuff like environmental remediation comes into play. But what we're showing you is there's a matrix of information that we're going to gather for you. We're going to put these costs here and give you all of the information, give you all of the ideas once we understand the scope. For example, the very simple basic thing is we don't know how big do we want the gym. Are we looking for a 2,000 seat gym? Are we looking for 3,000? Do we want to be able to break the court into two sides where you can actually have two events going on at the same time? Is that one of the things we want to look at? So none of these variables are identified. What are we doing with locker rooms, team rooms, all of those variables? So what we're trying to show you is we will build the solution for you once we understand the criteria. I think that's really the key. And then the last part is, how does this happen? Is you have a schedule. So what are the schedule items we need, right? So the first one is we're giving ourselves approximately 2 months for owner criteria, renderings, and all of that stuff to be put together. We have site evaluation, condition surveys, about a month. Okay, then we're going to create the concepts and put all of that stuff together, and then the costs, and then we finally get you a final results where you make the final decision with all of that information. And so we're talking about, you know, approximately 5 months. We think we can do this with your guidance and your, you know, involvement. But remember, the biggest thing is we need to get all of those people involved, the stakeholders, to give us the criteria, and then we'll roll up our sleeves. We have the capability to give you all of the solutions. We can do renderings, we'll do plans. The other thing I wanted to point out is grants. There's a possibility that this type of a project or some of the projects, once we have the concept and the budget, we can help you chase some of the grants. We've been helping you with your RCAP grant management. We're very capable. We have a whole team within our organization that does grant applications, that does grant management. We've just gotten grants for solar systems. We've got grants for RCAP for different people, and et cetera. We've done ACE grants, so there's a lot of things. And we're hoping there'll be new opportunities as this project starts to develop, and even some of your other projects that we're doing in the capital needs. But the big thing is infrastructure. We understand how to plan your job, but most importantly, we need those the owner criteria to really develop a solution that we can all grab onto. I think that's really our presentation. Kept it short and sweet, and want to thank you. And questions, sir?
Okay. I'll just say what I said earlier to the other firm. I see this as a multi-purpose room, not just a gym. You know, we're talking, you know, we want to grow. There's obviously classroom space we might need. I mean, one of the biggest things is ECA. We spend so much money in leasing a building where basically all the revenue that we get from other districts sending their kids there, it's a wash because they're paying a lease. So I'd rather invest money into a building that we're going to own and use for multiple things other than looking outside. So to me, it would be like a facility that has classrooms in it for like maybe our cyber teachers, and if the kids want to come in for the day and use the gym and do meet and greets with the teachers, or they do events there. To me, I think this thing is, I hate calling it like a gym. I want to call it like a multi-purpose room for the community, for our district, and that's how I see it, at least as in my vision.
Fantastic, and that's why I think perhaps repurposing some of those other spaces might be a way also to capture it within the same footprint. But even, I was talking about the infrastructure, just what you said. So the HVAC system for this facility then wants to be able to operate independently and be able to function without perhaps the central plant of the high school. So those are kind of things, variables that you just said, automatically change what the solution is based around. And that's really good input.
So, like cost-wise, just like an estimate, like I'm not asking how much it would be. Well, what would probably be cheaper? Obviously, like building a standalone at either West Intermediate or here. Like I look at Riverfront. I don't know if you're familiar with Riverfront, which is right across the street from from Memorial Stadium, like a steel structure like that.
Yep.
But that's something to be more obviously feasible, cost-effective than do like blowing out the walls at West High School and stuff like that.
So anything we do at West High School is going to be complicated. You can see that. It is an old building. The infrastructure is going to be challenged to accept a big electrical system load. I can tell you that. Emergency generators. So these are some of the things that we will think about for you and factor in. A standalone building at the right spot where the site infrastructure is available is always going to be, and what do I mean by site infrastructure? Parking. Because you don't think about that, but a facility like this, if you're going to have 3,000 seats at it and bring people, you need a place for buses, for the visitors, for the home teams, the bands, all of that. Then you need parking. So if the site infrastructure is there, a standalone building is easier to support it. The challenge we have at West High School is going to be the parking. Now, Liberty High School, we renovated all of Liberty High School. Jim was actually the project manager for that project. There's no parking at Liberty High School, but they have Memorial Gym there. They have a BASD Stadium that holds 12,000 people. They have Memorial Gym that holds 5,000 people. So, somehow parking gets worked out in the neighborhood and people love it, Everybody's got a parking lot in their driveway that is happening during those events. So it's possible, but we have to understand the metrics. But typically a standalone building with the right infrastructure, to answer your question, will be more cost effective if the infrastructure is there to support it. If it isn't and you have to build all that infrastructure, then it might not be.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yep.
West IS, the reason we showed that, it has brand new infrastructure from an electrical standpoint and everything else. It's got some parking to support it, not a lot, but that's why if you showed, we were showing that we would extend some parking back there. So those are things to consider, but even that parking is not enough for a 3,000 seat arena or 2,000 seat arena. It wouldn't work.
How's the infrastructure here?
At this one, it's pretty good. But again, I think parking will be the issue if you were to put the gym here, you're saying? But then you'd be transporting all the high school's students. So that's why we need to understand those metrics, and we can actually create for you a very cool logic matrix with those parameters to allow for a good decision-making process. But I think ultimately, like you said, cost is going to drive some of it, and then you're going to have the pros and cons associated with each cost. So, I mean, you guys are great at doing that, and we'll help you.
On the topic of cost.
Yes, sir.
I gotta ask you, this $400 a square foot, is that based on pricing you're seeing right now in this market from contractors?
New construction is at least $400 a square foot. Yeah. And I think the West High School project, if we want to maintain that type of presence, will probably be a bit of a premium. So these are just very...
No, I'm not holding you to it. I
rush.
appreciate it very much. I'm
Yeah.
just looking at this and your
Yeah.
point you're asking about, steel boxes and I'm seeing nice
Yeah.
finishes, but if he's saying this, the floor on this is $400 a square foot.
Minimum.
It's sticker shock to me. Yeah.
Oh, no, that's minimum. And that's why, the size of a gym, I don't know if we're looking at 20,000 square feet or there, but the seating, the basketball court's a basketball court unless you decide you want two big ones with events, right? But then after that, it's the seating that takes over. Then it's the toilets, bathrooms, okay? Then it's the locker rooms. And by the time you start adding all of that together, and then you want team rooms for the various teams. Are we doing separate team rooms for the different, and those are the things that Sean is very good at. We'll work with you with the spreadsheet to develop the program, and that'll really drive, I think, some of your solutions and ideas.
So it'd be like us giving you, hey, this is what we want here.
Absolutely.
You guys go.
And then we'll come up with ideas. We'll show you other ones and say, well, you're missing this. We won't just let you, tell us. We'll tell you, you're missing this. We need to consider this. Concession stands. All of those things. Ticket booths.
Right.
The list keeps going on. Everybody, Booster Club may need a room. It starts to add up when you do it right. You have one shot to do it. And this is a big step that you're taking because I think I heard it said it's been something you've been talking about
10 years.
For many years.
So some of the other gyms that you've worked with, how much percentage were paid by for grants? Do you have any examples or?
So that would not be a good way to look at it. The grants, the RCAP grant right now, for example, that you guys got at West IS, probably the biggest RCAP grant that anyone's ever got.
Wow.
No, you guys have the biggest RCAP grant because the next biggest one I have is Interborough High School. It's $4 million. I mean, you guys put that to shame. So we can't complain about the RCAP grant that we got. It's going to be tough to get anything more than I think a couple million. And here we're talking north of $10 million. I think you assume that. Yeah.
Anybody else have questions?
Thank you. Yeah. I'll you'll email the presentation.
The PDF, Rob has it on the stick. Rob?
Okay, perfect.
You got the PDF? We can pass that around.
Thank you.
Is that good? And then you guys have this? You want this as a PDF or this is good? It's just
I would rather have that as a PDF.
this one too?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll send that to you tomorrow. No, I don't think you have this. Yeah, I'll get you this tomorrow in this format. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Happy 4th of July to you guys. All right, thank you.
Go for it.
I'm gonna walk them out, but they're getting set up. I just said to Pat, I'm gonna get you a list of all the unfilled positions so you can see everything right now, because the grant writer's one of those that we've been holding off on.
Got it.
So I won't have it in this week's packet, but we'll get it for you.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, so while Aaron walks them out, I guess we'll continue to move on. We're going to do 4.3, facilities condition assessment versus feasibility study. And Mr. Rucker, you'll be presenting that, correct?
Yes.
All
Yes,
right.
I am.
Take it away.
Do you want me to wait for Dr. Keating?
Let's get started.
Okay, give me a couple seconds to move this over.
You got it.
All right, everybody, thank you for being here tonight. What we're requesting board support for is Facilities Conditions Assessment, or FCA for short, in the 2026 budget. Mr. Sneed, can you hear me well? Good? Okay, thank you. Just to give you an overview on it, Facilities Condition Assessment, FCA, is a comprehensive third-party evaluation of all of our district-owned buildings and major building systems. It tells us about the condition, the life expectancy, and replacement costs of our physical assets, from roofs and boilers to windows, floors, and mechanical systems, not limited to that. It's not just about designing something new, it's about understanding what we already own, what shape it's in, and what's at risk. This kind of visibility would allow us to prioritize repairs based on real asset condition, phase capital work over time instead of reacting to emergencies, and provide accurate projections for budgeting and grant applications. We'll discuss how this aligns with board policy and how it would enhance the work of every team in our department in the slides that follow. What's the difference? Since part of today's meeting included presentations on 2 feasibility studies related to gymnasium design, it's important to distinguish how these studies differ from what a FCA contains what we're requesting. Feasibility studies are conceptual in nature. They focus on space planning, potential construction, and broad design options. They help answer questions like, do we need a gym? Can it be built on the current footprint? What would the new space include? And what they don't do is provide a current system-by-system evaluation of the existing facilities. They don't give us the condition of the HVAC units in the building, the expected lifespan of the electrical panels, the state of the building envelopes or plumbing systems, or preventative maintenance schedules tied to the existing infrastructure. In short, feasibility studies help you look forward, but a facilities condition assessment helps you understand what you already have, down to the individual asset and item. That's why the FCA aligns with Board Policy 706, which mandates that we track the condition and value of all district-owned property. Feasibility studies do not fully fulfill that obligation in Board Policy 706. They're useful, but they do serve a different purpose. As we evaluate new options, we also need to get our arms around current conditions so we can manage, maintain, and replace with confidence.
So I just have a quick question. Can I do that? Do you mind if I-
Yeah, absolutely.
So, and Mr. Laffey knows a little bit about this. I had asked that one building in particular, West High, I happened to walk through and see, like, I don't know, plaster falling down, like small stuff. Are you saying that this facility assessment will look at maybe the small stuff?
Everything.
Okay, so if we find out that room, 100 has like a loose doorknob that's been loose for a year, this will be on that?
Yes.
Okay, so it drills down.
That is presented in one of my slides.
Yeah.
I will present
Yeah,
on
okay.
it.
Yeah, Director, Director Portland, I wanted to add on that too, because, we mentioned like I maintain a capital assets schedule of all the district assets that's hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars that we track and we depreciate. And obviously we need to do that for our government-wide financial statements. But it may be Scranton, one asset may be called the Scranton High School HVAC system, right? And maybe that's $20 million. It's got a useful life of 20 years, and we're depreciating it over that period. But the individual units that compose that overall HVAC system, I do not have itemized. I think that's where this will come into play.
Okay, and, right, yeah, keep going. I'm probably gonna run out of room.
So make sure I'm back on my correct page here. And I do have that mentioned here, Pat, in the slide deck. This slide reinforces why feasibility studies are not substitutes for an FCA. A lot of feasibility studies being presented today do explore potential new gymnasium construction. They are conceptual planning tools. They focus on the design options, spatial configurations, and projected construction costs. What they don't do is, as I stated before, what building systems are still viable, mechanical, electrical assets that are near failure, what the preventative maintenance needs are of those assets, and how much would it cost to replace what we already own. They don't look at the entire facility as a living, aging system, and there's no breakdown of unit ventilators, plumbing conditions, structural components, fire alarm integrity, doorknobs, plaster, so on and so forth. The facilities condition assessment, on our hand, does all of that. It's a detailed asset-by-asset review that builds a baseline for maintenance, replacement, and capital planning. I think it's important to note that assets aren't just, as Director Borthwick stated, a doorknob or whatever. The ceiling itself is an asset, the floor is an asset, the wall is an asset, so it builds into that and gives us that current condition. If we don't know the full condition of the current building, we can't currently compare the value of renovating it versus the value of replacing it. And that's the missing layer of data, and that's why we need these tools. Must be seen as complementary but not equivalent. We're requesting this as the third-party evaluation. I want to emphasize that as third-party. We need someone else to come in to fully evaluate and make sure we are captured every single one of our assets. And it will generate a centralized, updatable inventory with condition ratings, remaining life, and projected costs to repair or replace. The kind of detail is essential in long-term planning. It aligns with Board Policy 706.
How long would it take?
We are roughly 2 million square foot. This isn't something that a team would probably take a few months to come in and complete this work, going top to bottom, basement to ceiling. This also is capturing conditions of grounds, sidewalks, parking lots, fences, water systems, feeding systems, sewer systems. This is a full, complete asset inventory of everything.
Yeah. So it'll tell you, like, if we bought a new boiler, it'll be like, it locks it in. If we bought this boiler on this date.
It's hard to hear you.
Oh, sorry. If we bought a new boiler, it'll lock it in as like, we bought it on this date, the warranty probably runs out here, to check back.
That would be the living data asset. So if we went after the facilities condition assessment and bought, that's what would be uploaded and updated in that system. What it would tell us now is if they come into Isaac Tripp, they're going to say this building was built in 2013. The boiler was installed in that time. Expected useful life is 25 years. We expect this to begin failing at this date. And that gives us the ability to forward project more than just, the immediate future. We'll be able to look at 5, 10, 15 years down the road and say, hey, your CapEx expenses are going to look like this on this date.
So
you need to start planning.
It helps with planning. I think one thing for the board, I think would be good, because how many times do we get something in a packet saying you're going to vote on this in, a few weeks or like next meeting? This will tell you, like, every year we can say, hey, these projects are probably coming within the next couple months or next couple years, so there's not a shock.
It's one of the worst things I ever want to do is bring something up last minute. It's very difficult, but sometimes hands do get tied. But with this data, we're going to be able to live in that 6 months, 12, 15 years out and say, this is what we're looking at.
So if we're going to do this, which I think I'm completely in favor, it's absolutely, we need to know what we've got and we need to know what needs to be done with them. This would flow right into preventative maintenance. So basically you would take this and then cycle it through. But my question is, more than just preventative maintenance, would this also, like, we still probably need to keep assessing, not just doing the maintenance, but also doing walkthroughs. So that might be like a summer thing as well.
That's all tied into, there's slides coming up in this deck on that.
Great.
Yes. Yep.
That's exciting.
Well, thanks. I'm glad you're
So
excited.
this is something, though, like, obviously it's the middle of this fiscal year. This is something you'd look to budget for the 26 fiscal year.
It's something,
Yes.
and it's something that we need.
I did state that, Dr. Keating.
Sorry.
No, how it will be done. This model isn't theoretical. We've already used it in 2023 when we had ProBar come in to inventory all of our IT assets. We're following a very similar path in that. That focused on these IT assets, and our asset manager followed this example to catalog currently hundreds of our operational assets. He's been out in the buildings inventorying and creating the asset data in the Operations Hero system. And we've been aligning preventative maintenance schedules onto those assets and creating tickets, look at monthly, quarterly inspections, biannual, and annual inspections on each one of the assets that we have. It's important to note, as Mr. Laffey stated, the business manager does maintain a general asset list, and as he showed, it would say Scranton High School HVAC, but it doesn't fully break down each individual. This would give us every part of that aligned to board policy of what's included in that asset. Why does it matter? This is more than just collecting data. It's about keeping it alive, useful, and aligned to board policy, which does require us to track asset condition and depreciation. And while we already have a high level inventory data, we do lack that system level granularity that would allow us to make those informed decisions and maintain the compliance. Our asset manager's already been entering the data, like I said, into Operations Hero, and once the FCA is complete, if adopted, he'll be able to maintain this living database. The one thing I don't want to do is get a list of your assets and say, put it on a shelf and say that looks pretty. Once we have this, it becomes part of our daily operations. This is something we would be using and referencing daily, and that will allow us to have living data that we will be able to project, as I stated, that 5, 10, 15 years down the road. And I want to state, preventative maintenance is something we do every day. But I got to ask the question, what's the difference between preventative maintenance and scheduled maintenance? Scheduled maintenance follows a calendar, like changing a filter every 90 days. But preventative maintenance goes a bit further, monitoring systems and taking action before the failure occurs. The one example I can give you that I believe everybody here is familiar with, if you ever went and got your oil changed, you have a little sticker in your window. And it's going to say, change your oil every 3 months or 3,000 miles. That's an example of scheduled maintenance and preventative maintenance on the same sticker. Your scheduled maintenance says, every 3 months you need to do this. Your preventative maintenance says, it's a condition based, says you've went 3,000 miles, time to change your oil. Could that occur at 2 months or could it occur at 3? Sometimes those align, but most of the time they don't. The FCA would help us ensure that each one of these elements is cataloged, evaluated, and maintained accordingly, and shifting us more from these reactive, as we stated before, last minute board pushes, hey, we need this, to being much more proactive and forward thinking in our process. So what's included? I can provide the board kind of in the packet. I'll provide that what would be included in this, and the FCA includes an on-site assessment, which conducted by professional teams using the Uniformat classification system. And this methodology enables us the categorization from general systems down to specific components. For example, not just labeling an area as HVAC, but identifying each compressor, motor, and control board. Uniformat is a standardized system, and it's used to classify and organize building elements, not materials or products, but by their functional parts or system. It allows us to group and analyze the components of a facility based on what they do rather than how or with what they're built. It's made up of 4 levels. Level 1 being general groupings by major systems such as shell or services. Group 2 elements such as roofing, electrical, and HVAC. Individual elements such as floor finishes or ductwork. And level 4 sub-elements like specific valves, pumps, or control panels. So for example, using Director Borthwick's door knob example, it would say, it could be level 1, building, 2, door, 3, specific door number, 4, door knob. So you would have like 1, B, C, D, F, and then that would be the actual designation for that specific item. And it's not just limited to inside the building. Exterior and site systems like lighting, sewers, fencing, retaining walls, parking lots are also included in this assessment. And this process involves physical inspection, reviewing records that we have, interviewing on-site personnel to ensure full understanding of each asset's current condition and expected life. What we're building. And as I stated before, this isn't a snapshot, it's more of a foundation for a smarter future. By combining the FCA with our internal asset systems and personnel, we'll be able to build a maintainable living inventory. Supports planning, enhances compliance, and allows us to truly understand what we own and how to manage it. This slide here addresses key distinctions between our structure, between the asset management and maintenance supervision, and how these two functions complement each other rather than overlap. Asset management is more about data integrity. It's the accurate, centralized recording of everything we own, its condition, history, life cycle data. Asset manager maintains the system of record and ensures our asset database is reliable, searchable, and audit ready. Maintenance supervision through our foreman here, Mr. Terry Turner and Mr. Brian Walsh. They're more about field execution. They deal with the day-to-day coordination of people, tools, materials to make sure work gets done efficiently, safely, and in alignment with our district needs. Where these roles connect is on live two-way feedback. Asset manager will receive updates on completed work orders to update asset condition data, and the foreman use that updated data to schedule that preventative maintenance and prioritize tasks for our tradesmen and maintenance employees. Together they keep our entire infrastructure portfolio visible, trackable, and actively managed. Partnership allows us to keep the data alive so it doesn't just get collected once and forgotten. It becomes that tool that every layer of the department relies on daily. Recommendation. My recommendation is to move forward with the facilities conditions assessment and put it into the 2026 budget for all district buildings, infrastructure, and grounds. This isn't just a request for report, but a strategic step toward a smarter policy-aligned management of our physical assets. While past practice relied heavily on spreadsheets, staff knowledge, and institutional memory, that approach, while dedicated, is neither scalable or sustainable. With the adoption of the Operation Zero platform, we've begun that transition to the structured work order and asset tracking system, and that foundation now in place, and our team is actually working to build out the records. This is something we are already working on, but we can tell you now it would take us a very long time to complete this work. The FCA would really accelerate that progress dramatically, giving us verified comprehensive data we can use to populate the system with confidence and fidelity. And I believe the timing is right to get this done. That's it for this.
All right, thank you. Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I do have a few questions. So, so it sounds like we're going to do this assessment, and it's going to be like the information we obtain from it would be maintained in the database going forward. So basically, it's just a one-time assessment. You're saying, like what would warrant recurring assessments of this nature?
So, working in any time, we need the data up front to be able to have something in the system that we know what we have. I don't believe we would absolutely need an ongoing, I believe this would be a one-time cost. If we want to come back and say we want to bring them back and audit certain things, I believe bringing them back to audit, maybe we're going to audit HVAC systems, bring them back to perform just an audit on that and make sure we're still compliant and our records are still holding tight. This would be more of a one-time, bring somebody on site to do this.
Okay.
And it would be on us, the asset manager, the foreman, myself, and our district maintenance to make sure that we're maintaining that system of record.
If you get something new though, we can add to this.
100%.
So like that responsibility of like adding, like say we got a new boiler or something like that, that'd be on us, correct?
It would be 100% on us.
Do you, how, like, let me ask this, who would do it? Like who would be tasked with that? Would it be the somebody at that building? Or would it be somebody overall in like one of you guys?
It would be the asset manager.
Yeah, okay, perfect.
And I guess I thought, like, when we were talking about the asset manager role, this is going back, what, like 2 years now, I don't remember. I guess I thought that this sort of, I don't know, project would have been within their scope of responsibility, like within that role. So now you're saying, like, you know, we have our asset manager, but we also need this too. It's not something that we can do in-house. We have to contract out to have this study done.
Both statements are correct. It is still in his purview, in his wheelhouse, but we are talking around 2 million square foot of indoor space and 40 plus acres of external space. If we have one person covering that much space, it will take one person years to complete this work. And by the time he gets to finish the work, he would be restarting it immediately again because the data would have went stale after however many years it would be. This is a significant lift where it's not just coming in and looking. You look at inside of this room, you have ductwork, you have roof drains, you have VAVs, you have VFDs, you have so many just items in this one room that would need to be tracked, asset cataloged, and maintained. In this room, you probably have 100 assets that you're staring at right now, or more, that would still be under that responsibility.
And I guess, like, with all of that, like, I think it's a good thing. I think we're going to find a lot of information that's going to be a little bit shocking to us. Is one person going to be able to really maintain all of that, like all of those issues and the preventative maintenance on everything that we find?
It would definitely continue to be a team effort.
Okay.
I mean, it would be great to have more. One is better than zero. But it would absolutely be something that we can look at and address, once that time comes. It's difficult to project that without having the data.
Okay.
And we are potentially talking thousands, tens, or maybe hundreds of thousands of items that will be on this list.
Okay, thank you. And a final question, what are we talking about in terms of cost for this?
In terms of cost, I'm going to estimate, and this is not a quote. I don't know it off the top of my head, but we're looking around $125,000 to complete this work.
So go ahead, Sean.
I know when we talk about the teamwork thing, I think that's great, like working together with the preventive maintenance. I do remember though those conversations we had when we were getting the asset manager. It was always to grow the department, get like maybe another one, or split it with the purchasing, somebody in the purchasing department and stuff like that. So I think this is definitely like a good help to get everything on all the data there. We just have to make sure we keep up on it, add to it, and use it the way it should be.
So looking at it like this, whenever an issue occurs, let's say a teacher's in a classroom, the unit vent stops working, heat stops working, a ticket would be put in. the ticket would then also be put in against that particular asset, which would be barcoded. They'd be able to put it in on that barcode, and it would track it and link it. Every work order ever completed on that would be linkable to that asset. So it's something that every time we touch it, we are actively updating it at that point. Now, you don't have to go back in and re-grab the serial number and re-grab the model number because you know it, but that data becomes living data at that point. Now, if you pull that univent out, or let's say you pull that motor out of that and you replace it, because the univent would be a parent asset, but the motor or anything else inside of that becomes a child asset. So if I pull a motor out and I change it, when I put that new motor in, I'm going to say I'm deadlining serial number this, and I'm bringing online this serial number. So then you're going to have that live data, and that's when it would be updated at that time. Yes, it's a new child asset under the parent asset.
So I share both Director Cheswick and Director McAndrew's concerns in the sense that if we're going to do this, which is a worthwhile expense, which we have to do, and we've been talking about it like since I've gotten on the board, and I'm sure everyone's been talking about it since before then, we have to have not just, I would say, not just a vote on this, but I think we have to have a concrete plan for how after we get this, we maintain it. So, I mean, just a normal suggestion, it would be like every summer, every building, the head of maintenance for every building needs to do a walkthrough, report, work with the principals, the team effort, like you said, but it has to be directed. There has to be a leader, whether it's you, whether it's Mr. Laffey, you know, in his role as assistant super, it's gotta stay. Like if we're gonna make these investments, we've been pouring millions into our buildings, and we've needed to, but we have to also be good guardians of those assets. And you know, sometimes you walk into one of the older buildings, like right now at West High School, like with those, you know, plywood over windows. I mean, these are things that are embarrassing, that we shouldn't be doing, that we should know need to be changed. So if we're going to spend 125, which I think is completely reasonable, honestly, if we're going to spend 125,000, we should also know what happens after it's done and have a solid plan in advance, not figure it out as we go along. That would just be my suggestion.
So it could be a line item in the operations budget for the proposed, well, no, it would just be for the proposed preliminary budget, right?
I'll add it to that, yeah.
Yeah.
But then as we move into the final process in October, November, we can have further discussions on it.
Right.
Yeah, and I know that you're talking about, you know, potentially doing this next year. I mean, if we get, why not get started now? Because it's something we should have probably had done 20 years ago, if not more.
I personally am just, I need to see where all of this is going right now with the state and the federal budget before, like, I'm being real conservative right now, Director Borthwick, because like that was a whammy on Tuesday morning. We weren't ready for it.
While I understand it'll be a whammy if we have more things pop up that, oh, this is crumbling and we could have spent $125,000 to find out that the roof was gonna, you know, like that, this is probably one of the more necessary expenses. We need to know what we have. We need to know how long it will last. We need to know when we need to move in to fix it. And like I said, I've been saying this since I got on the board. We really need to take care of our facilities in a more proactive way, and this is a major step toward doing that.
Yeah, I agree with Tommy. Like when I got on the board and like all these buildings and the ones we've redone, like there's so much work to be done. And like, how do we get here, right? Because we didn't have the preventative maintenance plan, because we didn't collect the data, and we're spending millions and millions of dollars on new schools or updates, and we just can never go back there. So I agree with Tom. It is very necessary to get things organized, get the right things in place, because to me, if we don't, it's just a waste of money. In 10 years, we'll be right back here. A new board will be here dealing with the mess that was made.
I think one quote that I can say it would be, you'd spend $120,000 to know where you're spending your next $120 million.
I guess like I would need to see like that concrete plan that Director Borthwick was talking about, because I guess like in my time on the board, the McKissick study was like brought up, and we've had so many studies and assessments. I was against the McKissick study when we did it, and now you know what we're talking about tonight. We're kind of like going in like an opposite direction. We didn't really utilize what they said in that study. So I'm just kind of looking at it from a logical standpoint, where you know if we're going to spend this money. I don't think it's a bad thing, but I want to make sure that we get all that we possibly can from it, and it gives us that starting point that we need to move forward, that we're not just going to forget about it and move on to the next study a couple years down the road.
That's why we will be looking to integrate it into our daily use. and it makes that living database, that living knowledge. Because institutional knowledge is great until someone that has that knowledge leaves. And we're facing a very large bell curve. So soon we're going to lose a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, we're here for education, but we can't educate if we don't have safe, healthy buildings. And if our buildings are falling apart and we're not, maintaining them or making, if something breaks, we're fixing it right away. We're keeping track of when our boiler is going to be, not, out of warranty or, probably going to be on the fritz. Like, we're going to get all these things brought to like us or the new board, years from now, like all at once, just thrown at them. And I've been on that side of it, and it's not fun.
It's not fun for us either.
Right.
This is definitely needed, but I agree with Dr. Keating. We have to be very careful because we have no idea what we're going to get. And our children have to come first. But I agree that we need to take care of our facilities and our equipment so we're not in a bad situation.
Rob could go out and get the formal quotes for what it would be. Right now, you just had general quotes.
I have ballparks. I have a good guess.
And in addition to that, I don't know if we wouldn't be able to pull out by the 28th, but for the August board meeting, you could write out a detailed implementation plan.
I will have it by the August. If I could have it by the July one, I would, but I don't anticipate it.
Is this something we would put like an RFP out for, or is there like a specific vendor that we would use for this assessment? Like, how would that work?
I literally just asked Pat Laffey that question. We think it might fall under a professional service.
Yeah, I mean, I would think, I don't think you're required to issue an RFP for it, in my opinion. But, yeah, I was gonna say, I work with Solicitor Moran, but it's a service that would be exempt under Pennsylvania procurement. So you could go out and solicit multiple quotes. You could choose a competitive route like an RFP. That obviously adds time to the process. I think, that takes 3 weeks, takes opening it, takes reviewing it. I think if we wanted to move or possibly move sooner, we can get some references from people who've had it done and had successful results with it, and then receive, get some multiple quotes on that avenue.
Okay, great, thank you.
And again, I'll defer to Solicitor Moran, but it sounds like we might have the same page.
What's your definition of an asset?
An asset, it's a great question. So an asset is pretty much anything that I own. This table is an asset, the chair that you're sitting on is an asset, but when it comes to the facilities asset, it's what would be, maybe you would know it as real property. What actually makes a building would be my justification behind it. So that's a very broad topic and a very broad definition of what that could mean.
Well, are you considering an asset anything that's attached to the building?
It could be anything that makes the building a building. It could be attached. It could be standalone. It could be, for example, the tennis courts at West Scranton High School are not attached to the building, but they are still assets. Physically attached out to the building.
I think before we get into this, I think we need to have a discussion on what is and what isn't an asset, and how much of a monetary price tag we put on. Now, it could be, I know that when I worked with the state, anything that had a value that was not attached to the building, for a monetary thing of $500 or above, was considered a fixed asset. But you take, as you said, anything that's with the building that makes it a building, that's an awful broad statement.
Sure.
I think before we go further with this, we need to whatchamacallit.
I can help with that a little bit. So our policy for GASB 34 recommends currently right now that
I can't hear you, Pat.
Our policy for GASB 34 is for any purchase of a piece of equipment or like such that has an individual cost of over $4,500 should be capitalized. So that's on an individual component. Now we'll talk about Chromebooks. There's no Chromebook that is over $4,500, but when we buy $1 million worth of Chromebooks, we will capitalize those Chromebooks as well, even though they have a singular value below that. But I see where you're going. I think you're right, because we could really get into the weeds on folding chairs, right, that may have an individual value of $40 a piece, right? So I think you're probably on the right path, and that's something that we should clarify.
I only threw the $500 out because the monetary value is whatever we say it is. But what I'm more afraid of is, like right now I'm hearing, and I know you only use this as an example, the tennis courts. Well, I'm more concerned with things that are going to walk away right now. Like you have a server or computers. They all have a value of XYZ amount of money. I think before we get into something like this, we have to decide what we're getting into. What is an asset? The asset is determined by whatever we say the asset is. But right now, I'm hearing about motors and this and that. I don't consider them assets. I'm more concerned about items that can walk away, that you could sticker. You could get the stickers from the Pennsylvania Department of Corrections. They make them, they'll sell it to us, and they'll have them numbered, and they're almost impossible. Ginny Orr's desk, that should be stickered. I think before we go into things like motors and whatever makes a building, we better decide what we want to consider an asset. And I know somebody's going to say, well, who's going to take a desk? I remember a couple years ago, some neighbor reported some guy who was an employee of the district with a pickup truck unloading a filing cabinet in a desk.
Director Casey, I think that the scope of work would help to identify that. So I think that when the proposal comes in, the scope of work will give you a clear picture of what will be identified.
I
We should
hope
also
so,
look,
because right now, I'm looking at like, well, whatever we say it is, it is. And we're worried about whether or not we're going to be able to maintain it after we have it. I'm more concerned about what we put on it now to be maintained. Because I don't think anybody here has a general idea what we want as an asset.
And that's why I'm saying we'll go seek the formal proposal, and the formal proposal and that scope of work will clearly define to you what we're going to tag.
I think too, we have a $200-some million budget. But when you look at all the buildings and all the assets and everything we have, we're more like a $1 billion corporation, you know what I mean? When everything.
Sean, I agree with you.
Yeah.
But when I get nervous is when I ask, what is an asset? Anything that makes a building a building. Well, that could be the foul line here. I mean, it's whatever we say it is, but I think we should be wise enough to realize that we have to put parameters on on what we want as assets.
So I think we can do that, but this is a facilities condition
6.2.
assessment, which means we're going to assess the foul line because maybe it's going to need to be repainted. So it's more than just assets. It's about all facilities. We're looking at making sure we maintain everything. So categorize the assets, but also figure out maintenance of the assets, figure out maintenance of our space. So, you know, we need an all of the above and we need a solid plan.
And I think too with the motor comment, like if a motor breaks down in that piece of the asset, it's a secondary asset, right? A child asset you're calling it. So we can know, okay, this device or whatever we have has been having issues. It's been the motor. We've replaced it 3 times. Here's the footprint of it. So
Yes.
maybe we go to the manufacturer saying, hey, is this a faulty product? Because we're constantly changing these motors and stuff like that.
And what that allows us to do,
Sean, on that, you shouldn't have to look at an asset thing. You should just go and look at your maintenance records.
Well, I think
we do
that's-
have maintenance records, correct?
yes, we do.
Wait a minute, excuse me. We either do or we don't. I thought you were saying we're working on it.
No, we with the Operations Hero platform, we now have a dedicated system that allows us to have those maintenance records. So yes, what I was trying to get at with what Director McAndrew was stating is that if we have work orders, multiple work orders on, for example, an RTU at Scranton High School, and we start to see consistent failures over time, and we're able to track and say, okay, well, RTU1, in the past year, we've repaired something on it 7 times, and we've spent $70,000. I'm throwing arbitrary numbers out here. We spent $70,000 to repair this. The cost of getting a new one is $200. Well, are we going to keep spending the money, or are we going to look to replace? So it allows us to get us more data to know, are we throwing good money at bad, or what are we doing? How's it working? How's it tracking? Is it always that one motor? Well, if it's always that one motor, what's causing that one motor to go? And we're able to do more investigation instead of just replacing part for part. It gives us a little bit more of an ability to
Bigger
perform
footprint.
that work. Yeah.
Well, I still say that you can get it through your maintenance records like I believe we had a situation like that with the emergency generator over at West Intermediate. And right away we found out what happened because we pulled the maintenance records.
And I think too, it's like a lot of the maintenance records, like, I mean, some of our buildings are so old. This will help now going forward, have everything digitalized and like easier to keep the data and update the data.
It's one system of truth.
Right.
Whatever.
But I get what you're saying, Dr. Case, I agree.
No, I'm just saying that there's a lot of other things that we can do to start getting our assets tagged, the ones that actually can walk away. And I'd also be in favor of an inventory system strictly for office supplies, because if the person at Trip is ordering 10 cases of file folders, and for all we know, down at Scranton High, you may have 35 cases. So we need to know where the little things are that we purchase on an annual or a constant basis. We need to know where there are before we need to know that the tennis courts are secure at night.
I understand.
I rest my case.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions?
So our future direction steps are for Rob to seek formal quotes with scopes, defined scopes of work aligned with district policy, and at the same time, while that motion would be presented, we would be giving you a flushed out implementation plan so you can see how it would work.
I'm not in favor.
Anybody else have any questions? All right, moving on. Now, I know you've talked about some preventive maintenance. Do you have more to say for 4.4 preventive maintenance scheduling and work order system rollout? Are we good? We're good? All right. Next, we have 4.5 equipment procurement and warehouse condition.
As our in-house trades team begins to grow, recently we've been able to get on a plumber, and we actually have a plumber in the pipeline now that we're looking to onboard. And visibility into district assets improved. It's become increasingly important to ensure that our team has the right tools and equipment to do their work safely, efficiently, and in direct support of those assets. So what we're requesting in the 2026 budget is a plumber's van. This was not purchased during the original fleet expansion because we didn't have a plumber on staff at that time. And now that we do, and with the second position currently under review, this vehicle is essential for transporting plumbing tools, parts, and equipment to job sites across the district. Secondly, looking at a bucket truck, which is needed to safely, access some elevated electrical assets such as pole lighting, signage, any other elevated components. And this will eliminate our dependency on using rented lifts and will allow faster response times with safer working conditions. In the 25 budget, we're requesting the front end loader for the grounds. We're currently renting this piece of equipment from Kelly Volkswagen. It's primarily used for snow removal, salt loading, and grounds maintenance, particularly in areas where other equipment can't quite operate effectively. This is high use year-round need that would be far more cost-effective to own than to rent long-term. And recently, we've had some we've had some mowers go down. I know the tractor here at Isaac Tripp is failing. We are struggling to keep it going. And at Scranton High School, the one Gravely zero turn that we have has entered the grave. It is dead. We tried to repair it. It has blown oil all over the place and is no longer repairable per our team. And all these are tied directly into that support function and allows us to just keep up with everything going on in district.
Okay, any questions?
Would you mind putting your presentations in the packet?
I will.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Oh, and I missed the part there with the warehouse. The warehouse right now is reaching a critical point. Depending on, I know we have pegboard coming, we have all these other school supplies, as Director Casey stated, and it starts to burst at its seams. We end up having to utilize some space outside, which I'm not very keen on doing. So we're trying our best to maintain it in the warehouse, but I can tell you now that warehouse is at a critical point space-wise.
Are there some things that might get delivered to the warehouse that can get delivered, like directly delivered to the school?
A lot of that stuff is bulk, and we don't have a lot of storage space. We have spacing issues in the school as it is.
Director McAnder, that is something that I've talked to Rob and Mr. Clark about, who runs our supply room. Potentially in future, trying to look to do that for some items that schools need immediately. However, one of our largest orders is all the paper for the district. You know what I mean? And obviously they get that as needed. So it is something that we were exploring. Actually, Mr. Clark brought that up to me just a few weeks ago.
Okay.
Pat, I know we talked about this before, but you just mentioned copy paper. I don't know how you're doing your purchasing. Now, I do know that the one time or a couple of times that I was over at South Intermediate and I was able to look, you had a whole section just for copy paper. And then if Trip Park, Trip Elementary wants it, they call or they put an order in. I don't know what your process is, but it eventually comes out of the warehouse. And I know I mentioned this before, but how many cases of copy paper would you say you buy?
I can't tell it off the top of my head. I can tell you tomorrow because we.
Well, how many are you having delivered tomorrow?
No, I don't have specific order being delivered tomorrow.
What I'm saying.
I have my bid sheet that I can share in the board packet tomorrow.
Okay, who do you buy the copy paper from?
This year, well, it's bid, so this year I'd have to pull it up. It'll be one of.
I mean, give me a vendor. That's all I'm looking for.
Well, in 1 year, WB Mason may have won the bid.
Okay.
Yeah.
You do the purchase order.
They weren't it this year, but in this year.
I'm not looking at that issue. What I'm saying is, let's say you put, sake of argument, 10,000 cases of copy paper. Well, instead of having them all delivered to South Intermediate, what you do is you put an addendum on it and say what school will call for them, and then you do a blanket purchase order. So now you're not paying for the 2,000 or 5,000 cases of copy paper. You're only paying for what you get. But now what you do is on the purchase order, you dictate when you want them delivered to Robert Morris, to Prescott. And this way, it'll free up a lot of your space down at South Intermediate. And that's why I always said you need a professional purchase order or purchase manager down there, because he would know that. And all these little things tie in together. Well, you're not only, by the way that we're doing the ordering, we're not only taking up space, but we're also tying up our money. I mean, some of that copy paper may not be used until December, but yet we're paying for it in September.
We can certainly look at it again. I believe it has been done in the
All I'm
past.
saying is, and the same with rock salt. You may want to see how we're ordering all this stuff.
For order, that's a good question with the rock salt. Is that something maybe we could look at the city ordering together, maybe cost savings? So
We've looked at that before. We can certainly look at it again. I feel like when Mr. Puglisi was here, we ran into a little snag with that. I just want to mention something. Like,
sure.
When we order paper, we order 2 truckloads of paper, and
Right.
there's savings associated with taking delivery from a shipping standpoint.
Right.
We can certainly go back. These are nationwide companies that are shipping across the country. So when we're getting the best price on the per unit case or pallet, right, they're shipping it, one of the reasons they're able to do that is because the shipping is a one-time. So we'll certainly look at that, but when it's a nationwide company coming from maybe Ohio or Indiana, there might be extra costs associated with shipping, but it's something we can explore moving forward.
What about like shipping?
Pat, I've dealt with national companies. They want the business. They may say, oh, you give them that type of order, you could do a blanket purchase order.
Okay.
Until we figure out like maybe like a different site for our, facility stuff and our warehousing, is there space that like maybe we could send some of these bigger items to until we figure that out? I mean, I know I walked around at the Memorial Stadium. There's some space there, but to me, Scranton High has a lot of stuff up there, which is that the proper space for that to be as well? Like, are we utilizing our Memorial Stadium and stuff like that as much as we could be or should be?
That's a difficult answer to get. I know there's a lot of stuff in there, and I know Scranton High School does offload some things down. I don't want to give you an answer on that right now. It's something I can evaluate and get back to you.
Like I remember seeing one of the bigger rooms there has all their like football jerseys and all that stuff, where West has it at their school. So like, should that be at the school? Should that be at the Memorial Stadium? Like I don't know. Like can that help free up South? Because my biggest fear is the fire department coming in again and saying, hey, you got to clean this up or this isn't up to code.
That's definitely a concern. It's one of the reasons I feel it's at a critical point.
There's other space things that we're considering right now too, that we haven't formalized in front of the board.
Got it. It's something I can look at, but I'm hesitant to give you an answer on that right now.
I think going forward, if we are looking at potential other spaces, that we need to make sure that Rob is at these meetings and his team there, and even Kevin, for a safety aspect, because there's a lot that goes into, potentially securing other locations. So I think just going forward, we need to make sure we have the right people at these visits. Because I think sometimes we have a lot of people at the visits, but I don't think there might always be the right people. So I think going forward, we just really have to make sure the people who should be there are there. Anybody else have any questions? All right. Thank you, Rob. Now 4.6, capital project status and coordination.
Just to give you we're actively managing several construction projects. Western Intermediate construction update. I'll just give you a quick rundown and brief on the updates here for projects, which is provided in your board packet weekly. Right now, West Scranton Intermediate, classroom renovations, border work are active and progressing. Ceiling grid installations are ongoing. We did have some abatement work that needed to be completed with some floor tile. PA and camera cabling is scheduled while the ceiling is still open, and that building access safety measures are being coordinated daily. Work does remain on schedule, and our operations team meets with the team biweekly. I'm going to flip through here some pictures for those of you who may not have been in the building recently. This is right here in your main foyer as you're looking up. You have that great Invader Pride logo front and center. Beautiful work done here, especially in that ceiling and lighting configuration. You do have some sound deadening panels. If you look where my mouse is hovering up here on the left, you can see these sound deadening panels to kind of bring that volume down in that main foyer space, since it's such an open and airy construction. This is probably my favorite picture out of all of these. This back courtyard initially was just a bland, square, not fully, in my opinion, utilized space that now looks absolutely fantastic. It's really difficult to see in these pictures, but that design work that they put in with how the concrete flows and the arcs, and it's just a stunning spot. There will be trees planted, which look bare at the moment, but this now is turned from a bland, underutilized space to something that teachers and students can utilize actively, like daily. There, as you see, there's benches there to maybe have outdoor classes. This is an absolutely stunning space now, in my opinion.
Is that something you can just access though, like coming off like walk around the building?
There is access off to the side, and there will be a fence put back up.
Okay,
And I'll confirm that, but the fencing was removed and should be put back.
Okay. Do we have any safety concerns or anything?
I would defer to Kevin on that one.
Thank you.
Right here, one area, one of the things I really didn't realize going through this, but that design on the logo, and Greek alphabet's not my forte. I don't even, was that Lambda. The way that that's designed and popped out is really eye-catching and a beautiful use. It's stunning. This is kind of typical of the areas coming in. Now, it looks a little bit bland now because it's not, living space. This is in the new area, so this is still being worked. Very difficult picture to see here with the lighting, but this is the auditorium. You guys have sat facing this direction at the board meetings there, and what you're looking at is a new wall being dropped down. You can see the ceiling is very blacked out, as you can see in this picture. And this space is going to be fantastic. Right now, again, I'm sorry, with lighting conditions, poor picture, but this is the gymnasium at West Intermediate where the ceiling is coming down and that work that you approved is being performed. As you can see, the floor has been protected. There's an underlayment and plywood OSB on the floor covering that to protect it during the construction. You can see here, these are the modulars. They are actually being moved. If you live over there on West Side, you can see that they've been staging them in that front parking lot and slowly getting them out of the area.
Yeah, I had people ask me if we're getting new ones or more, so I said no.
No, these are the ones getting removed. We are not getting more. So moving on, it's just some quick pictures there. Right now, I'm talking about the district-wide exterior door project. It covers replacement of exterior doors across multiple buildings in the district. And really due to its connection to Social Security, I don't want to go into too much detail in public session, but what I can share is that the project has begun and we will continue working on it throughout the year. Material delays may push some work beyond the summer, but we're proceeding with appropriate safety measures during school operations, and we're also coordinating with the contractor to explore some off-hour or holiday work where feasible. Scranton High boiler replacement. This is the replacement of the boilers at Scranton High School, which has exceeded its useful life and has required continuous reactive maintenance. This is one of the more significant mechanical upgrades that we're undertaking this summer. Current progress, I know all the submittals and RFIs have been processed. The boilers are staged and ready at Scranton Electric's warehouse, and demolition work I believe began the week of June 16th. So this project will continue throughout the summer and into the school year with close coordination between contractors, the school, and the operations team to minimize some disruptions. And once complete, the new system will provide more reliable heating, dehumidification, improved energy efficiency, and reduced maintenance needs. Fire alarm replacements at South Scranton Intermediate and West Scranton High School. This project involves replacement of the fire alarm systems at both the locations, upgrading systems that have become outdated and very difficult to maintain. Currently, the submittals and payment applications have been reviewed, field surveys and utility markouts have been completed, electrical contractors have begun preliminary work, bi-weekly construction meetings are ongoing. I know there was abatement work being done at South Scranton Intermediate. That is going very well right now. I have no reported delays. It is currently on schedule and marked for summer completion at both locations. The West Scranton High School fire door replacements. This is focused on the interior fire rated doors throughout West Scranton High School. Existing doors and hardware really are old. They don't meet the current standards and have become very difficult to keep maintained. We have actually, the board has actually approved this project, but it includes replacing new fire door assemblies, upgrading panic hardware, closer seals, and bringing the corridors and stairwells back into full compliance with current fire codes. They've begun their field surveys, but due to a delay in material delivering, we look to have this deferred to a summer 26 project. As it stands right now, if we are able to complete this work during the school year, I'll provide that update, but at the moment, I anticipate this work to be deferred to the summer 26 timeline. District-wide PA system upgrade. As part of the multi-phase district upgrade PA systems, right now we had our meeting today and we're updating or enhancing our communication with them. We're going to pretty much every other day touch points with Harris Technologies. Core system at the West Scranton High School has been turned over. The last information we have is that was functioning. We haven't had any issues and they are monitoring to see if any devices come offline. South Scranton Intermediate School, same situation. They are currently working on cabling for the cameras. Robert Morris and Charles Summer, cabling is complete with the system configuration testing in progress. And John Adams, that cabling is I made this last week, but that's currently done. This does replace that outdated and inconsistent communication that we've had in these buildings. To wrap up that capital project, I just want to briefly highlight what these projects represent collectively. Each of these efforts, whether it's mechanical, architectural, or communications related, it's not just a one-time repair. It's something that we, and with your support of the district or the board, have been great infrastructure renewals for our district buildings. Together, we've been able to address these known deferred maintenance issues and begin to shift us from reactive work to more planned capital investment. And that's it for that one.
Anybody have any questions? Okay, nope. And then finally, 4.7, safety and code compliance.
So we've been working more hand in hand with the City of Scranton, the code authority. If we have any issues, we've had really great communication with them on getting our questions answered, meeting on site, reviewing conditions prior to putting projects up. So it's definitely been a better relationship. We also interface with Scranton Fire Department quite often to make sure that we're maintaining that code compliance, fire code compliance, or anything else. One of the recent things that we've had the Far Street retaining wall. We did have a structural assessment completed, and there's currently no immediate hazard identified at that space. So we're going to keep an eye on that and monitor. I believe I had that in the board packet for you guys last week. So going in, when I was talking about Scranton Fire and also the Scranton City, if you haven't heard, it's authority having jurisdiction, your HJ. They're the ones that kind of dictate what we can and cannot do in some of these situations. And we've had a lot of ongoing coordination to review those code and life safety compliance concerns, at sites and any other projects that we've been completing. A couple of the ones that we've interfaced with them on is the floor crack at Armstrong. Structural engineer and the insurance company have both completed their assessments, and they both confirmed that the area is safe, and we just need to continue monitoring for changes. That was updated to you. Also, the drainage issue over there, we had a third-party engineer who came out on site and determined that that breakdown of that was due to the deterioration of the drainage box and not related to the flooring issue that was occurred. And currently, the Plaza chiller, we're currently renting that chiller from Scranton Electric, and we're looking at evaluating the next steps for a long-term HVAC system plan, which will tie into what we're looking to do long-term with that building.
I mean, for that far retaining wall, that piece of property, we should seriously consider looking to unload it.
Yeah, there's no reason to keep it. Get it on the tax rolls. Let somebody develop it.
That's
Is that it? Any questions? Aaron, anything you want to add before we adjourn? We're good to go?
No, thanks, Rob. Good job.
All right, can I have a
Thank
motion
you.
to adjourn?
I
Yeah.
move.
Second.
All right,
Happy
all
4th
in
of
favor?
July.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Have a good
Thank you for your time.
Oh, Aaron,
I do have one.
never mind.